Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session on how to succeed as a non-technical person in product management. I'm Shivam Gupta from Emeritus, and I'll be hosting today's session. If you have any questions during the session, please type them into the Q&A box. We'll bring them up during the presentation, and we'll also have some time for questions at the end. So for today's session, we have Vivek Madani with us. Vivek is a product manager at Flipkart Camera, and he describes himself as building impressive shopping experiences as his passion. He's also a former operations policy marketing at Uber India. He is a graduate from Shri Ram College of Commerce in Delhi. He has worked with companies like Traxon, Pressplay, Tabso. Currently, he is with Flipkart, and he is going to take up a session today on how to succeed as a non-technical person in product management. So without further ado, I'd like Vivek to take up the center stage and guide us through the entire session.
Hey, thanks a lot, Shivam, and I think the entire team, right, for putting this together. I was joking that you're actually helping me answer a lot of DMs that I get on a topic like this, and I was talking to Suhas about this as well. So I'm able to do that all at one go, right? So thanks a bunch, and I think I'm like really happy that I get to share something that I think I know a little bit on, and Shivam's already gone ahead and introduced me. So I think maybe one aspect, like how non-technical are we really talking? So no. Sorry, I'm at work.
So Vivek, before we proceed further, let me put out a poll about let's ask people what's their background and what is it that they're looking for right now.
Sounds good. Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so guys, I've just put out a poll. Would be really interesting if you all could answer these few of the questions, very generic ones, and in a minute's time we'll right. So we have 30% people who have already replied. So that's 70. All right, give it 10 more seconds. All right, so we have 90% of our audience who has replied to this poll.
Okay.
All right, I'm sharing the result for everyone to see. So out of 97 people who are attending today, we have 82 responses, 18% in the range of 0 to 5 years of experience, 35% in 5 to 10. Rest you can see on your screen.
Yeah, even I think I fall in the majority for the first one, but the minority for the second one. Yeah, so let's see how this goes.
All right, so more than 50% of people are here to listen to you, Vivek. So I think I should let you speak now.
Sure. Thanks again, Shivam. I think this is helpful. Like even I was at the 5 to 10 year mark, right? So as Shivam was saying, I right out of college, I think I was pretty clear that I don't want to do consulting or investment banking. I had like one internship, and I think it became pretty clear that you get paid in consulting for like submitting a report, and I wanted to like make sure that I see execution through, right? So I joined a startup, and like my first 9 months, I shuffled between 3 different startups, doing everything from marketing, sales, account management, customer support also to an extent, because you just end up doing anything and everything. In fact, I had a chance at one of those to do product management, but the company just wasn't making sense. So at that point, I said no. And then Uber happened. I think I wanted to join Uber again because it was a very interesting time in 2016. Uber just sold Didi in China, so I just wanted a foot in the door. If like that battle versus Ola was going to play out, I knew that I wanted to be on the inside of it and not on the outside. So again, just got a foot in the door and did everything from like marketing, launch operations, and never really had like a straight line journey over there either. Like right when I could have sort of like taken a bigger role in marketing, I decided that I want to learn the analytical side of the business and then move to an operations or business role. So then once I moved there as well, and I think I got pretty a good sense of business acumen and like thinking about the business from an overall perspective. I also wanted to like sharpen my negotiation skills and influence skills. That's when I decided to like say like dabble my hand with public policy, right, and try and see if we can unblock like a license for bike taxis. And right when that was happening, I saw an opportunity to like launch a product from the grounds up, albeit on the operations team. I felt like this sort of gives me a role to like build something from scratch and play a role that's very close to the role of a PM. And I'll touch upon that later and why that's important to like look for those sort of opportunities. So yeah, that was pretty much like my last stint there before I moved on to Flipkart. So as I was saying earlier, how non-technical are we talking about? Like I don't think I would be able to write a line of code to save my life. If it's maybe like I did a bit of HTML for one course or something, but beyond that, a little bit of SQL, but that's pretty much it, right? And I couldn't set up my home Wi-Fi router unless I like Googled it first. So just to like sort of like set like how non-technical are we talking, right? And yeah, I think really excited to kick this off. So I think I want to divide this into a couple of parts, right? I think a lot of folks would also be interested in how do you break into PM as someone who is non-technical. And the second part, I'll try and focus on like what does it take to like sort of succeed, right, in it once you're in. So and there's a third very interesting part that I want to leave you with, because that's something that I think really makes sense, and we'll touch upon that as well. But on to breaking into PM, right? So I know this is something that's like harped on quite a lot, but as I was thinking and reflecting on what actually like got me down this journey, I think this was definitely like a huge part of it. Like probably like sometime in 2018, I think I picked up reading again, like after having lost the habit for a while there, and read a ton, everything from psychology to personal finance to stats, economics, and it was sort of coinciding with the time when I wanted to launch a product at Uber from 0 to 1, and I think like I didn't want to set myself or limit my thinking to just the business side of things or just the operational side of things, which is what led me down to understanding what product management is about, or how do you think as a product manager, what are the different facets of the field, right? And because I wanted to like contribute a lot more and do a lot more, that got me extremely interested, because I had a real problem to sort of solve, and I knew before going in, I did have like an inkling towards product as the next thing that I want to do, because it's really hard for me to like stick to one thing. I'm always on the lookout for like doing something different. So I think like if you're not genuinely curious, and I think there's a ton to read on the internet, there's a ton of courses, there's a ton of like webinars like this that keep happening, right? Go through that phase where you go through that journey, and at the end of it, if it's not something that's truly exciting to you, and you can't like be neck deep buried in this learning about it, it's probably not something that you genuinely want to do, right? On the other hand, if it is, then you'll know it for sure. So I think like yeah, just again harping on it, like how important it is to just just go with go with your gut, right? And just like sort of follow your curiosity. This is, I think, very interesting that now that you know that this is something that you want to do, right? Of course, like you've done a bit of the reading, but you need to like sort of take some action, right? So try and find a role within your existing company that you can do, right? Like now you've understood and kind of know what the role of a PM is. So you're thinking about a product from the grounds up. You're thinking about the customer pain point that you're solving for. You're also thinking about like in what order do you prioritize and what kind of feature sets do you bring in. Basis what's the business context, do you need to bring in a product that differentiates because there are competitors and whatnot. So try and find a role within your existing company where you could sort of like, take on work alongside that project, right? It's okay to like sort of, say no to your existing projects or succeeding at your existing role for the next 6 months. If you can sort of contribute to something which gives you a greater exposure and lets you contribute, right? I'm not saying go step on the toes and like literally do the PM's job, but maybe help them to that extent, right? Like if you can like basis your understanding of what the product needs, just like list down everything that it needs, why it needs it, try and prioritize it. There are multiple frameworks to prioritize it. Start getting into like doing some of the aspects of the role, if not directly say working with engineering or design, right? If that's not sort of possible. I know this is not extremely easy to do, but it's not extremely hard either, right? And I think it's very important for you to like look for these opportunities. Either in your existing role, you create that opportunity for yourself by like taking initiative, pitching a project, and then just going at it, or like looking for a project where it's like they could use some additional help, and then you go start helping them on that front. The other thing which I have not done personally, but I follow this guy. He's also like a friend from back in Delhi University. So he's also someone who I think he's did economics in college, right? And this guy just totally like builds in public. So he's prolific. He just absolutely like uses no code tools and just keeps building one product after another. And I don't think he's looking for a job, but he's just a great example of someone that you could sort of like try and emulate if the role within your company is not working out. Because building in public lets you like actually ship products directly on your own, or like you're collaborating with a few folks to do it. Gets you like user feedback, because like the initial set of users you can just directly talk to, get user feedback and sort of scale, right? And I think it's just a great way of sort of showcasing that you are able to do it, and as well like learning on the job, right? So this is, I think, a terrific way, and something that's just has blown up a lot over the last couple of years, 3 years or so. And with no code, it makes it even easier, right? So yeah, I think this is a real alternative that people can explore. Yeah, find a friend who knows a friend who knows a friend. Like networking is amazingly helpful. Like I think a lot of people started to reach out to me over the last few months or so, and even though the connection with me might not work out, like essentially if I don't have a role, I always know someone who is hiring, right? Who's hiring for APMs, who's hiring for PMs. So like these kind of connections definitely work out. So always like try and reach out to a person who's either directly doing a PM role, or knows people who are doing that, or knows people who are hiring, and just sort of like keep building your network, right? If you're curious enough and you want it enough, I think you should definitely go out there and talk to a lot more people and just network. Yeah, another thing, I think one thing that I realized was that like, look, I'm not going to be able to, like pick up coding right now. I did think a lot about it, and like there was a phase where I went through, which took a bit of undoing on my own. Like when I was talking to a few folks about it, that should I like start coding? Like is that the way? And I think I've settled right now, and maybe this changes. Who knows? But like as of now, I've settled on the stance that just like like be really good at like the business aspect of it, and probably like, as good as possible on the UX aspect of it as well. And it's okay to not be really like understand like tech as well, right? Because there is something that you bring to the table. And I think I'll cover this later as well in the second part, where you realize that tech is just a part of it. It's not the whole thing, right? So if you're able to bring enough value to the table on the other aspects, then you'll stand out and you'll make like a contribution in a great sense. And you'll be surprised that just being extremely good with business is also like a real advantage, right? And depends on the context, of course. Like there might be certain contexts where business isn't like as strong a requirement, but if it is, then yes, like I think that you'll end up sort of standing out. So make sure that like you have your grounds covered on the other skill sets, and we'll dive deeper again into that in like the second section of this. Yeah, I think this I just love this quote, and I just like keep thinking about it so much, especially as even though I'm working at a big company. In big companies, like it's really hard for people to take risks, right? Like even though you want to take a risk, people will probably choose to like go with the person who has an engineering degree and an MBA, or like there are these predefined criteria for what kind of a person that you're looking for. It's very boxed, right? Like the definitions for like different roles, and like the criteria that you're looking for, and no one is willing to like raise the hand and take a bet on someone who probably doesn't fit the bill in terms of the traditional sense. So joining a startup is definitely like an easier option for you to break into. As I was saying earlier, that there was a startup where I was at and like did everything from sales, account management, customer support, and they were offering like, asking me to go on to do PM next. Didn't want to at that time stay on in the same place, but I just think that like the risk is so much lesser in a startup for them, because all they care about is getting things done, right? Like not everyone's trying to protect their job, so the risk is a lot lesser. And yeah, like as long as, and no one really cares about you breaking into their territory either. So I think that's a big aspect as well. So yeah, just like see if you can go ahead and like join a startup, get into a tech startup in a non PM role if that's sort of not working out, and then like slowly like sort of like transition into it. I think it'll be like easier. And yeah, luck, I think you've sort of done it all. You've followed your curiosity, you've looked for opportunities within your existing company. If not, you've gone ahead, built in public, or done both. You've like networked your ass off, right? Like, and you've even probably like found a role for yourself at a tech startup where it may or may not be like a PM role directly. And you also like honed your business and user experience skills, right? Or thinking from a customer perspective. You still need luck to be on your side, right? Like I think this was just my example. Like I was jamming with a friend who I'd run into, and we were just discussing 0 to 1 ideas on startups. And I don't think like I was like super like like saying that like, okay, I have to break into PM at that point in time. But this came up, and I thought it might be fun to like just full-time go into it and be a lot more hands-on in the space, because I was sort of playing the role before that when I was working on Uber rentals, where I did the whole 0 to 1 journey there. And I think I'd already sort of started to take an interest. So it just sort of worked out, right? So I think the role of luck, you will need luck to sort of be on your side, right? So I think yeah, like that's but you can create it by like doing all of the other things. I think you definitely increase the odds of luck going in your favor if you're like knocking on every door and like just like hustling and making the other things go in your favor. Okay, so the second part, I think there's a ton of Q&A. I think Swas, Shivam, we are taking those towards the end, right? Because I'm not looking at them right now.
We can pick some of them as of now, if you want to, or we can take all of them at once at the end. That's not a problem. Like it's entirely up your call.
Yeah, I think we'll just probably do them at the end if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
It's okay
Let's
with
do that.
everyone else who's asking. Cool. Okay. So on succeeding as a non-technical PM, right? And I think I'm on this journey, but I do have some strong thoughts about this. So let me just lay them out for you, right? Yeah, so I think that this is something that I mentioned, that tech is a part of the job. It's not the core of it. And you're definitely like not expected to code, right? Like we keep joking. In fact, like there are a few PMs on my team who send a bit of code to engineers, and like it's kind of frowned down upon that you do that, because it's not your job, and like it sets the wrong example for the engineering team if you are going ahead and doing that, right? So it's definitely not something that's expected of you, right? I think like knowing the market really well, identifying what problems to solve for customers, defining what should be built, articulating all of this really, really well. And thereon, like once you've done that, like just working with like all your cross-functional stakeholders, the design team, and your own design and engineering teams to get this out of the door. Then like find product market fit, iterate towards it, do the like work with the marketing teams. So I think like ensuring all of that itself is a very, very mammoth task, no matter whether you're at a startup or not, right? So I think like that's the core job, and you need to understand that tech is a part of it, and we'll come to like where that importance is, and like how much understanding should you probably like try to build. But know that it's not the core part of the job. It did take a bit of unlearning for me also to like understand, like truly understand that this aspect of the job is also like a big deal, right? It's not super easy to like get this right. And you'll be surprised how many products launch in just in big companies as well, and just don't find traction, right? Because you've just built the wrong thing. You've not thought about the market. You've not thought about like who your customer is, whether you're even solving a problem or not, but you just thought this was a good idea, and you just like designed it and built it, right? So I like a big no. Definitely like spend a lot of time doing these other aspects, and that's what you're like primarily hired to do. And that's why like the PM role was carved out, right? It was of course to coordinate the actions, but also to make sure that you're de-risking what you build, and you don't end up building something that does not find traction. So yeah. And yeah, I think you can sort of succeed despite the lack of technical prowess, because um, the skills that you require are like extremely diverse, right? Like you like I think there's something that I've come across, and it's pretty popular, which like people joke that like the PM is the CEO, right? Like they say things like this, I think, because you're just expected to do like everything, right? Like another running joke, like when someone asks a PM like what do you do, it's really hard to define, because you do like a bunch of things, right? And at some point even you start to question, like, am I really doing the thing that I thought I was going to do when I signed up for this? Probably not, right? Like because you are like expected to like drive the success of the product, and that requires, as I was saying earlier, like extremely good communication skills. Firstly, I think just have to be able to like talk to like a diverse set of stakeholders, and everyone's coming from a different perspective. So you need to understand where all of those people are coming from, and therefore like try and bridge the gap between all of them, and bring them on the same sort of page, right? And that requires extremely good like communication skills. I think being able to zoom out as well, so not just be too detailed into the features, but also like zoom out and think about like what's the market landscape, and like who are you sort of like building for, and like what is the next consequence of what you do, right? And like what could that potentially lead to, and then make a choice about what you end up building. uh, like I think really sharp analytical skills. So being able to like understand and interpret data, look for patterns, and yeah, and then be able to sort of like like you use that information to like, of course, like identify customer problems, but also like like overall derive business level insights, right? And uh, even concepts like maybe like understanding like incremental impact versus like what's getting cannibalized, and all of that, like I think is again super crucial, and no one's going to do it, like, but the PM needs to do it, right? Or like work with the analytics person to get that done. But you yourself will have to be extremely analytically sharp. And business acumen, yeah, like understanding your entire sort of like P&L, direct and inverse relationships between your different metrics, and assessing like ROI of like, the thing that you're building, or any other investment into, say, marketing, or anything else that is required. What's the, like, everyone is always going to question you on what's the financial impact, and why is the company building this versus like not something else? Why does this require additional investment, either in terms of people or in terms of like money, right? Like into like marketing and stuff like that. So it's, yeah, it's, I think like, having strong business acumen will really help. And even in something that we work in, right, which is in 3D on augmented reality, like every experience requires a 3D asset creation, right? And currently that process is not like automated like entirely. You do require like people to actually create 3D assets, and even the partial automation requires investment into hardware and software. So how does that investment pay off, right? Like how do you amortize the costs over like a few years, and like show that the returns actually justify that investment, because your finance person is not going to sign off on that investment otherwise, and there's no one else to like help them take that decision and drive that decision forward in favor of like what you're trying to build. So yeah, I think like be really sharp with business, persuasion, and stakeholder management. I think I was mentioning this earlier as well, that you have like they say that you're the CEO and stuff, but like you like don't have like like direct reports to an extent. You might have a few, but and you have to like sort of like work with different stakeholders and like other teams, right, who are not like rolling up into you. So it genuinely requires you to be able to understand where other people are coming from, what is a win that you could perhaps give them, right? Maintain those sort of relationships, and make sure that you are able to sort of like get what is needed to like get the job done, and able to get like people on board to sort of contribute towards your sort of project, right? And I think domain knowledge, and I'll touch upon this later as well, and like what I mean, but like specific domain knowledge on the area that you're working for is again very important, including like a very thorough understanding of market and competitors. Customer centricity, definitely like something that you need to um, really get a grip of, because like it's what ends up like I think I touched upon this earlier, like what you end up building should actually solve a real problem for like people. So like if you're not able to like use either user data, or like talking to customers, or just observing patterns either like in your data or like outside of it in like general society, and then figure out like what you want to build, it's sort of going to be hard, and you have to lead the whole thing, right? So it definitely takes like it's I think if product management is actually a good role to like build leadership skills, and actually if you want like a CEO level aspiration, it's actually like a good role. Like earlier I think it was thought that only business leaders could sort of become CEOs for some reason, but now I think that thinking is changing, especially in the Valley. You see that like a lot of product leaders end up becoming CEOs, right? Because you've just like led pretty much like a big portion of the company's success is actually hinged on you, and you've sort of like driven that forward. So yeah, I think of course you can't do all of it, right? Like I mean you can like do all of it, but you can't nail all of it. So like make sure that you have like your superpowers, and you're sort of known for those superpowers, right? And I think these are what like I would say like a good product sense, great stakeholder management, and just a general ability to like lead and make sure things get done, right? And like try and inspire people, like I would consider as mine, right? And like something that I constantly am like like trying to make myself even better at, and show that this is where I sort of bring value, and those are the kind of projects that I end up taking on as well. So yeah, you can't absolutely get away with zero technical understanding. I think an understanding of like fundamentals that lets you make trade-off decisions as you are planning, like at a roadmap, like an yearly level or at a quarter level or at like an individual sprint level, when you're prioritizing different initiatives that need to like get executed over a certain like 2 week period, or what we call a sprint, or over like a quarter, you definitely need to have an understanding of different basics. When you have to partner or like use external technologies, right, like taking some of those decisions as well along with your engineering teams. So I think you definitely have to understand the whole process that they go through and the technologies that they interact with, so that you're able to speak the language and also help them make the decisions, right, in collaboration with them. So understanding the fundamentals is important, and also domain specific, right? Like especially in something like deep tech, which is 3D and AR. There are specific concepts that you will have to know beyond. It's not just like a consumer normal consumer product, right? There are other components to it, and I think this is something that I spent a lot of time on before I like took the role, because I was more sort of like uncomfortable with like doing something like 3D and augmented reality. So spend a ton of time reading and talking to people and understanding like domain specific. So I mean, like imagine like tomorrow someone wants to like work in Web3, right? Like I'm sure you'll have to understand blockchain, smart contracts, NFTs, and all of it, and like the underlying tech, right? You can't just like not understand how that works and say that you want to work in Web3 as a PM. So like get your domain specific understanding along with your other fundamentals, so that you don't become a blocker for taking decisions, and also you don't end up like driving the wrong decisions just by brute force, by saying that like building this product is important, and I'm not going to consider what's the tech debt that we take on, or like what's the choices that we make in that process. Yeah, I think something that will definitely help you survive is to just like build a strong relationship and like make best friends with like the people you work with, because if they sort of trust you, you have just much better communication with your engineering team members, and you can sort of just lean on them to like ask them a ton of questions and like get that understanding from them. Try and bring yourselves on the same page with respect to what what they're trying to say and what you're trying to like get at, and that'll help you a lot, right? Like in your day to day, like you need to understand that you're not the person who's doing any like doing the actual work, right? Like the engineering teams are and the design teams are. Your job is to like make sure that you're doing coordinating actions in the best possible way for the best possible outcome, or the outcome that you've previously defined with the company. So and there are multiple people on your team to do it, and it takes a team honestly to like get that out. So make sure that your relationships with your engineers and your designers are actually like the strongest before even like like making friends with the rest of the org. So yeah. And lastly, and I think we'll share this deck, right? Like I'll probably ask Shivam or Suhas to like email the deck to everyone. But like I'm sure none of you came here and said that like I'm just going to listen to this talk and it's going to feel really good at the end of it, and like that's about it, right? Like I think I've also done a few of those where like it just feels really good that you've like absorbed a lot of like concepts and your brain is jogging, and but you should like end this by taking some action, right? So I've just put together like probably like a weekend kit for you to like just like read a bunch of things. Like in terms of doing, I would say like think of your like existing company that you work at. What's the one project idea that you could propose, or if there's any idea that you have on your own, like what's something that you could like pen down on your own and start working towards, and just reach out to a bunch of people and just like make cold connects, right? Reach out to use friends and acquaintances. That always helps to like help you make those connects, and then just talk to people and see if there are opportunities, see what it takes, what their companies look for, get that sort of understanding, right? I think one thing, it's totally fine, by the way, to like go and try and interview for product roles, knowing fully well that you won't get it. I think there was one role at Uber that I applied, which was like 2 or 3 levels above, and like I fought a lot to just get myself interviewed for that role, knowing fully well that I won't get it. But that process was amazing, right? Because I got to solve like a pretty big problem in the case study round, went through all of the rounds, presented, and I think that definitely like just helped me like, get some skills, right? And like talk to like people who are like in like director or VP level positions at Uber and get their perspective, like understand how they think, how they evaluate candidates, and also how they think about how their product thinking is in general, because like we were jamming on the case study. So do that kind of stuff, and like sort of don't take the first no for an answer if someone tells you that you can't like sort of interview, right? So just like keep knocking on the door and at least like trying to like do a bunch of interviews so that you get that experience and something will sort of like click. But yeah, I think that's it. I think we can do Q&A next.
Sure, Vivek, and thanks so much for sharing all that. And first of all, thank you so much for motivating me to start my own product management journey. I think I'm gonna dive into it pretty soon. So yeah, we can start off with the questions. So the first question is, can you work as product manager in a technology company like Microsoft without any technical background?
So I think to my best knowledge, right, like if they are looking for a technical PM and that's a specific kind of role. So if you're not working on products that are user facing, like could be even like internal tools, could be like SaaS, so geared towards the business consumer, or could be geared towards say like like I think like just B2C, right? Like Microsoft has a lot of B2C products as well. Not sure how, like some of them are definitely like have traction, but yeah, so I think not those kind of roles, yes, but probably like if you're working on like the cloud infrastructure bit of it and they're specifically looking for a technical PM, I think that would be hard, right? So you have to look for roles where your odds of like making it are slightly greater. So they are looking for someone specifically as a technical PM with technical background would be much harder. You might it might be better for you to place your bets on roles that are more focused on user or like driving the business forward, and not like tilted towards like the technical side.
So Niveda Harishankar is asking, could you elaborate on the first PM related project that you picked up at Uber, and what was your process? What were the challenges you faced, and how did you understand the technical complexities?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So I think I touched upon this. The first project that I worked on, which was like gave me a lot more exposure, was Uber Rentals. So Uber Rentals is something that we launched in India first in May of 2020, right? So it was right after the lockdowns, and I was working on it since like November, December-ish. So the PM essentially put down a very basic version of like the MVP PRD. So PRD is the document that you put down to lay down the all of the requirements that are needed to be shipped, and like engineering and design use that like as a source of truth to determine like what the end product will look like, right? So at that point, like the PM left, right? And I think I was still responsible for making sure that it ships on date. So I got an opportunity to directly work with engineering and design. And given that there was no PM, I was able to like get a few features prioritized onto the roadmap, because we had actually launched something called Uber Hire before that, which was pretty much like a hack using existing tech stack, and it wasn't like it was definitely not solving the pain point that we wanted to in the intended manner. So we needed to productize it. And I think there were a few features that I felt like the MVP version was missing. And then if we would have launched the MVP with that, we still would have not made much of a dent, right? So work to like make a convincing case on why these make sense based on like data and past experience that we had with the hacked version, of course. And we sort of like, rolled out the MVP. Beyond the MVP, also like ended up working a lot more closely with the new PM who came in to decide like what should our strategy be, given that Ola had launched rentals for the last couple of years and had like, pretty much like organized the rentals market. And there was of course like Savari and other players in the market as well. So like, how do you differentiate, right? Like at what point do you differentiate? At what point do you just compete on price? And therefore, like if you have to differentiate, what does the roadmap sort of look like? And work really closely with the PM to sort of define that, rethink like the booking flow and like some of the differentiators that you want to bring in, rethink the experience on the driver side. So I think I was just so closely involved in that project, and I took a bunch of like trips on as the driver, as the rider, was pulling out most of the insights. So that's I think that's the chance that I got, where I was able to shape the roadmap to a large extent. And in terms of technical challenges, I think I think in that project I was shielded from to a large extent. We had extremely great engineers who were able to like like communicate well and tell us like what's possible by when or why not. And so I think I got a good enough understanding to be able to like understand if we couldn't launch promotions for a long time because of legacy tech stack on the way promotions were structured for point-to-point rides at Uber, right? So I think I understood that, and we figured out a way to like reduce the price of the trips anyway to like get more people to ride it. So yeah, I think that was the first project, and it was very deep, right? Like we like took it to like MVP, and then managed to capture a huge chunk of the market as well. And beyond that, also like lay down a roadmap for like how do you differentiate even beyond that.
Tanvi Mishra has a question that are certifications like CSPO required for becoming a PM?
I'm not. I don't even know what CSPO is, so I'm not sure. I don't think. If the company is asking for it, then like, do you really want to join them? Like, why are they asking for CSPO certificate? They should test like your knowledge and like your ability, right? Like, I'm not sure, Tanvi. I'm sorry. I don't think I can answer that. And like, yeah.
Let's move on to the next one. So Gayatri Rajaraman is asking, what is the difficulty rate for a person to have a domain change from revenue ops to product development, albeit no technical knowledge, but on the functional side, uh, how will the product development course bolster out CV to talk for ourselves at interviews? So I think, Vivek, we have similar questions for a lot of domain. People are asking about the similar questions, like if they are from a like ops side, or like I recently saw, I just saw another question where someone wants to move from another domain to this domain. I know you have answered, like you have captured a lot of this in your presentation, but I think you can answer like combining all these questions, right?
Okay. Difficulty rate for a person to have domain change from revenue ops to product development, albeit no technical knowledge. See, difficulty rate, I think it's obviously going to vary. I think it's going to depend on like the person, right? Like how easy it is for you to like understand product management and understand all of the other skills that I was talking about earlier. And that's why I think like, if you are naturally curious about it, you will sort of like find it easier to like pick up, or you will go through that period of like discomfort and come out at the other end where your general understanding of like how to figure out like customer problems, how to like articulate them, like use both like user data and like like external studies, like work with UX researchers or directly talk to customers, how to figure out a way to like ask unbiased questions to customers. So all of that like process that you need to go through to like understand what it takes to build a good product, it'll be very subjective. So I think once you go through that and like you sort of like put yourself on that journey, you will be the best person to be able to say like whether you truly want to do this and get over that like level of difficulty that you probably face in the initial period, or maybe it's just something that you found fascinating but isn't truly for you, right? So that, and how will the PD courses, both product development, I'm assuming PD, courses bolster out CV to talk for ourselves at interviews. So yeah, I think like the way I can probably even share like, you know, like my CV, right? Like if needed as like a sample format or whatever, but talk about like impact and like when you're quantifying your impact and like highlighting what you did, how you sort of achieve that should speak the product management language in some sense, right? To indicate that you managed to play that role. So what do I mean by that? Like you were able to like, you know, like if you were able to say that you were able to prioritize between like different feature sets and played an active role in like, you know, sort of like getting the roadmap defined, or you were able to like derive an insight which also led to you like, you know, proposing a solution that got implemented. And yeah, and I think like, again, like, you know, make sure that you're quantifying the impact. I think that's definitely one thing that they look for. And the second aspect is like how you achieved it should sort of like, you know, do the speak that you played the role. That's probably the best that you can do. And apart from it, I would say another thing, see, I definitely like, you know, got lucky because of person that I'd been like, you know, jamming with and knew for a while, like they were sort of hiring, right? So I think you will have to like share in public and make sure that like your knowledge and your understanding is being broadcasted a lot, because if your direct CV is not able to talk it, at least you're able to use other aspects to talk it, right? So don't think of your resume as the only way to signal that you're like good at good at these skills and like, you know, worth taking a bet on. I would say like explore the other facets as well.
I think it answered a lot of people's questions because I actually just ticked off around 7 to 8 questions which were related to the same. So now we can move to the Sandeep Bindra's question. How do you comprehend the technical language of developers? Is engineering manager is the layer for you who can comprehend the user story into kind of code it would need to build?
Look, yeah, I think you sort of ask them enough questions to try and get it in your language, right? I think like if you don't understand a term, you Google it. If or you just ask them, what do you mean? If you still don't understand, again ask them, what do you mean? So that you will like be able to understand like exactly what their challenges or what they're sort of like speaking about. And we recently got like a tech lead. So for a while there, we did not have a tech lead, and I'd rely on like other PMs in case like I like absolutely was not able to like get a sense of it, who could perhaps understand it better, right? And they were more technical. Or like once you do have an engineering manager who is better able to articulate it, then of course you can rely on the engineering manager. But I think using like Google or like just trying to have a conversation with that person at a deeper level should be able to explain to you what's the kind of technical challenge that they are facing, or what's the kind of you know, like decision that was taken in the past because of which this might end up taking some more time. So do you really want to do it in this sprint, or do you want to bring in something else so that something actually ships?
Sharath is asking, what is the core pitch to a recruiter when you don't have a PM background? Does people have to sacrifice pay level to shift into a different domain? Basically, I think he means.
Yeah, look, I think your core pitch will have to be about the fact that like your interest, what have you done to sort of demonstrate that these are the skills that you definitely have. Get someone to vouch for you, right? Get either like someone in leadership to vouch for you, or get someone directly in product to vouch for you who you might have worked with. And I think also if you have built something, as I was saying, that like, you know, like go and build something in the public, then go and share that, right? Like if it did well on Product Hunt, if it had like X number of installs, if you know you've even gone ahead measured like what was the retention of the thing that you built, then like go ahead and share all of that. I think that's definitely going to be a core pitch. Also, always easier to go pitch directly to the person who's hiring than the recruiting manager, I would say. Like because the recruiting manager again is looking for like, you know, like there's a set of criteria and they're filtering by that, right? Like try and like just directly approach the person who is hiring. Typically your senior PMs or group product managers or directors are hiring, and I think easier to like try and figure out someone who knows them, who can make the connect, or you'd go directly make the connect and sort of do that. So that should be the pitch. And yeah, I think I used a similar pitch to get myself like an interview, and I used someone who like, could vouch on me, because they were like a director, and they'd seen that like, I've literally brought this to life in the absence of a PM. So they were able to like, put in a pitch and make sure that like I at least got the interview.
So I see Himanshu Jain asking 2 questions over here. What is it like a day in the life of a product manager? And the other one is, how does a PM role differs than a management consulting role?
Okay, I did management consulting for like an internship like way back, but sure, I think I can try and like take a stab at that. But yeah, in terms of like what does the typical day look like, right? I think it's been slightly hard, but you definitely have to block out like some focus hours in the morning or at night, whichever one works for you to like sit and grind out your PRDs, right, where you're trying to like define the background of the problem that you're solving, look at the different like data that exists out there, then clearly sort of like figure out like what's the problem statement, like evaluate competitors that might have built something similar, then define out like what is it that you want to go ahead and build, then start involving other people in that journey and getting their inputs, and then shaping the final set of user stories and the user flows and sort of defining that out, right? So that time to like do your focused work needs to come in either at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, whichever works for you. Typically I've seen that people are either like morning people or late night. I doubt like you will find focus time in the middle of the day, because like you will end up breaking into a lot of meetings, right? So you are meeting with like either different product teams who you need alignment from, because you're trying to execute something that touches like parts of their product, or like your own design team, because they've like created like the first version of the design and they want your feedback, or your engineering teams, because they are probably like blocked on a certain story and they need to know like which sort of direction to take, right? Or maybe there's some lack of clarity in your story. So like the whole of your day is going to like get sucked up into a bunch of meetings, and of course leadership, right? Like that you are extremely like like responsible for making sure that leadership is aligned, that like how are like engineering team members sort of spending their time, right? And what is product essentially building. So like being able to do upward management is something that will take up your time, because like either something comes in as a priority, or you anyway know as part of your like governance calls in terms of like your weekly monthly check-ins, there is an update that you need to give, right? Or you're preparing for like an update. So right, I think like your whole day is sort of going into like a bunch of meetings with different stakeholders, and in like the morning or evening you've got to carve out time for your focus work.
Right.
Yeah, you also end up spending time on like UX calls and stuff, but yeah, pretty much like calls. Yeah.
So Vivek, we have another 5 minutes left in the scheduled time, and so I'd like you to like pick up a couple of questions. Like if you can scroll up and see if there are some questions which needs your immediate attention. So we'd be more than happy to take those right away, because there are 31 questions as of now on Q&A, and I don't think we'd be having time to take up all.
Okay. Maybe I could totally like spend some time and like answer and just send you, and then you can just email it to all of the attendees. That's something that we can do.
That's absolutely fine. We can do that. We'll be having the Q&A copy like saved in Zoom, so we can pick out all the questions from there.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you want to take up a couple of questions, we have another 5 minutes to do that. Like if something which is in line with what we have been talking about till now.
Okay. Okay. I haven't gone through all of them, so I'm just scrolling past. You said that some of them got answered with one question earlier.
Questions were related to like how do someone shift from a one profile to another, like someone in a different background, working in ops, working in sales, working in marketing. If they want to jump to product management, how do they do that? So I think you answered when you were answering about one of that questions.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, this is, I think I've also like touched upon this. I just saw like, is there a way to get shortlisted by firms biased in favor of only IIT and IIM folks, while one only knows that one can deliver value without having degrees from these institutions? That's what, right? Like, I think I touched upon this, and I would say that, again, like, startups are not a risk, right? So like, take a bet on someone who's willing to take a bet on you, instead of like, like trying to go after big tech. In fact, like, I was pretty sure like my next move was going to be a startup. In fact, the team that I'm working for is a startup that got acquired by Flipkart, right? And that was the only reason that it sort of like worked out, because it was the intersection of like a big company and like, and this, and that, therefore I'm working for a big company. I think like I was more excited about that space, right? And what they were building, and the fact that the startup culture sort of remains. But I would definitely say like, try and like, like go for that. And like, it's not right, like money is pouring in like crazy, even despite like the situation right now, even 2022, like money is pouring in like crazy in startups, right? So it's not really a risk, because like despite like the firing news and stuff, like once you've gotten in and you've like sort of acquired those skills, which you'll acquire much faster at a startup, you will be able to like use those skills to find something else. Because like, I don't think that it's going to go away, right? Like, you're just going to be a lot more in demand, and these skills are going to be a lot more in demand over the next few years. So it's I would say like, that's probably like the better way to go. And otherwise, uh, finding a connect with like the hiring manager instead of going via recruitment, because they will definitely shortlist resumes basis predefined criteria, and certain institutions is what gets shortlisted, and every other institution does not get shortlisted. So, and that's, you have to understand it from their perspective, right? They're being efficient, like they get like thousands of resumes, so they need like some sort of objective criteria. And it's really hard to figure out like, what was the impact that you created at your previous work, and like try and quantify that against other people. So they use like, the role of the company that you worked at, or the brand of that, or like, the college or institution that you went to, as a filtering criteria. And that seems to be like an efficient process at their end, which is why they sort of opt for it. So go for like, like directly trying to get into I mean, talking to like the hiring manager, and sort of like signaling your skills to that person, or signaling your skills on your social profile. Could be LinkedIn, Twitter is like something that I under leverage. Suhas definitely is on the other spectrum of it, right? Like, you can like totally leverage Twitter to signal like how like how you are like capable, and like share your thinking, share something that you're building, and you will be something will give, I would say.
So yeah, we can like, I can send you the.
I see that question from Akshaya. The deck will definitely be shared. So I can send this out. I'll post on LinkedIn as well. So yeah.
So yeah, we'll share the questions with you, Vivek, and whenever you have time, you can go through them, and you can share that with responses with us, and we'll send to the participants.
Yeah.
And I think we are nearing the closing time now. So I'd really like to thank you, Vivek, for coming up tonight and doing this session. It was an eye-opener for a lot of us. It was a great session. We really learned a lot, and I hope our participants also learned a lot from a session. At the end, I'd like to tell everyone to explore top programs on product management. Please visit Emeritus India website. I've just posted the link over here on the chat box. I'm just reposting the same. So yeah, in the end, Vivek, thanks so much. Thank you again for joining us. It was an amazing session, and I hope everyone learned a lot today.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved doing this. It gave me a chance to like reflect, right? And like, I do think, yeah, it was a privilege, and it sort of worked out in my favor. So it's always good to like, like give back, and like share whatever help, or like I hope everyone found it like useful to some extent, or there's something that you can take away from it. Definitely act on this, right? Like, don't sort of sit on it, and definitely like act on it beyond this. That's all I'd leave you with. And thank you so much, Suhas, Aditya from the product folks, and Shivam, Kashish, and the rest of the Emeritus team to like for organizing this and putting this together, right? Really appreciate it, and like good luck to you guys as well, and good luck to everyone. Yeah. Take care.
Thank you,
See you.
everyone.
Bye. Have a great day ahead. Whatever.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.